Enjoy fun adventures as you chart your course to create the extraordinary marriage you desire. Join us March 2026 for the 7-night Eastern Caribbean 6 Pillars at Sea marriage getaway. Yes, we are taking 6 Pillars cruising and we want you to join us. Get all the details and book your adventure at oneextraordinarymarriage.com/getaway. Limited spots available.
From Naples, Florida, this is the One Extraordinary Marriage Show, where being busy is overdone, romancing is fun, and scheduling sex has taken the guesswork out of wondering when you're going to get some. I'm Tony DeLorenzo, your co-host, along with my beautiful wife, Elisa. From coast to coast and around the world, thank you for joining us. It's time to talk sex, love, and commitment. Give us a call or text us on the Hug Hotline at 858-876-5663, or send us an email to hugs@oneextraordinarymarriage.com. In today's episode, we're addressing one of the most devastating challenges a marriage can face: infidelity. We'll explore the statistics, the impact, and more importantly, how couples can rebuild and create an even stronger marriage after betrayal.
And one aspect of recovery after betrayal is forgiveness. And there's this quote from William Paul Young that says, "Forgiveness is not about forgetting. It's about letting go of another person's throat." And as I talk to couples and, that's a visual, but it is getting into this place. Part of the reason for that, such a strong quote, is because a topic like infidelity stirs up a lot of strong emotions.
Yep.
Right. And before we get into that, we start every episode with a hug, and a hug is an opportunity for us to celebrate what you are doing in your marriage, transformations, breakthrough, and even just fun that you're having. And this hug comes from an Instagram post that we were tagged in that says, "Mondays, my husband and I lead a couples church group. We are centering our group this season on a book called The 6 Pillars of Intimacy that One Extraordinary Marriage wrote."
Amen. Thank you so much. Love it.
We spend a few weeks on each pillar as a group, and this past week we dove into recreational intimacy. By putting this pillar in action, we chose to have group Olympics. I love everything about this. We did cornhole, egg race, Bible memorizing, tallest tower, Gatorade flip cup, trivia, and free throw. We all had a blast. So awesome.
I love it. Yeah. Hey, you know what? We're coming into the fall time of year, and if you are part of a church and you're like, 6 Pillars of Intimacy has impacted our lives, our marriage, step out in faith and lead a small group. You don't need to be anybody spectacular. You don't have to be speaking from the pulpit. Elisa and I, when we led our first small group many years ago, we were sitting in the seats just like anybody else and just had a heart to impact not only our own life, but those in the room. Mm-hmm. In that group, there are still some dear friends of ours that we still know 17 years later.
So crazy.
I mean, just about a month or so ago, we drove all the way up to Orlando because they were flying in for an event. We hadn't seen them. We drove 4 hours to Orlando to see them for 2 hours, to sleep, and then drive 4 hours back home. And so you'd be amazed at what can happen if you step out in faith and lead a small group. Mm-hmm. All you're doing is facilitating, get the 6 pillars, and take them through it.
Absolutely. And, as we dig into this topic today, I know it's a really big, heavy topic. I know it's a topic that people don't want to talk about. I know it's a topic that marriages, as spouses, you don't want to have this word come into your vocabulary. And yet, as a marriage coach for the last 13 years, working with somewhere in the vicinity of, I think I'm closing in on 600 couples and individuals now, I know that this is a topic that we have to talk about on this show. I know, based on research, there was an article in Yahoo Finance that the United States leads globally in infidelity rates. One of those areas that you don't want to be the world leader in.
Nope.
But the United States is currently leading globally in infidelity rates. The American Survey Center reports that approximately 20% of married Americans admit to having an extramarital affair at some point in their marriage.
And I just want to say this right up front. This goes either way.
Oh, yeah.
We know.
You notice I did not say men or women.
We know husbands who have had an affair. We know wives who have had an affair. This is not us pointing at just one or the other. This is across the board, and it happens. And so we need to pass our stereotypical societal norms that say it's either one or the other that is doing this. It is happening on both sides, both husbands and wives.
And there's actually some concern that the numbers are actually much higher because they're being underreported due to shame, secrecy, fear surrounding infidelity. And there's increasing research that shows that emotional affairs are becoming more common, which I would, as a coach, 100% say yes, because you have, with the access to social media and workplace relationships, you're just seeing this rise.
Well, and it's not just workplace relationships. It's in my opinion, that's nothing new from when we were younger and we didn't have social media or the technology. I think it's more of the advance in the technology in the workplace relationship where we can have different, even workplace platforms where we are talking. You know what I'm saying? It's not just, hey, the only way I'm going to see you or talk to you, which we could have said years ago, which we'll even talk about in our own marriage. But that was like a in-person, face-to-face environment. Now you have Slack, you have ClickUp, you have Monday, you have all these different platforms.
Let's not forget Instagram, TikTok.
Right, like you can have these burner accounts. Snap. Like you can have all these different things that can happen that can impact how we're engaging with somebody in our workplace.
Absolutely. And, those of you that have been around a while, that usually about this point in time in an episode, I'm like, well, let's talk about the definition. So guess what? Let's talk about the definition of infidelity. Merriam-Webster.com defines infidelity as the act or fact of having a romantic or sexual relationship with someone other than one's husband, wife, or partner. And or, please hear me on the second part of this definition, unfaithfulness to a moral obligation. It is not simply having a romantic or sexual relationship. Infidelity, if you look at the definitions in Merriam-Webster.com, also describes it as this unfaithfulness to a moral obligation. And I really, like, when I saw that definition, I'm like, ooh, that's gonna create some conviction, because it's not just the physical affairs that have sexual contact or the emotional affairs. Like, you can get into financial infidelity. You can get into seemingly, pornography, not that big a deal. I'm not being unfaithful if I'm doing this. But if we come back to this definition, I will straight up tell you behind these microphones, and we've said it before, so this isn't going to be a surprise unless you're brand new. And if you are brand new, welcome. You happen to join us on a really big topic day. But Tony and I have infidelity in the past in our own marriage. And I'm not saying that as a point of pride. I'm saying that as, a husband and wife who are getting behind these microphones, not perfect, but always a work in progress, because we've battled our own things.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm going to just say this right here. There has never been sexual infidelity in mine or Elisa's marriage over the 28 years that we have been married. But if we look at the second part of that definition, unfaithfulness to a moral obligation, the moral obligation is the vows that we said to one another when we first got married on our wedding day. I believe that those are a moral obligation that we stand on. That's just what I believe. Now, to say that we are perfect, that would be not the truth. There's only one perfect person who's ever walked this earth, and his name is Jesus Christ, and I am not him, nor is Elisa. And so we fall and have fallen and have stubbed our toes and, skinned our knees over the years over different areas in our lives. And, I think of one of them is just pornography. Early on in my marriage and in our marriage, the use of it. And I would even say to this day, it has become a bigger issue at times, because I look at that and I'm like, wow, because many of husband and wives, we can be on any of these social media platforms and we all know the different videos that are being fed our way. And I have caught myself in the recent past looking a little longer, watching a video, and I'm going, what am I doing? There's nobody nude. Let me tell you, mind you. She's probably wearing a bikini or something. but it shows up. That is a moral moral obligation, right? I'm sorry, an unfaithfulness to a moral obligation, right? And there are many paths to this today. So we battled that. And I say as a we, it was a me. That was my infidelity, the unfaithfulness of the moral obligation I had to Elisa in our marriage.
And it's not just, sexual infidelity that we had in our marriage. I mean, we've had physical and financial infidelity as well. I mean, early on in our marriage, my brother was a student at Tulane University, so he is in the heart of New Orleans. And I'm like, well, I got to go to Mardi Gras, right? Like, he's there. I got to go. And so, you go to Mardi Gras, and
What year was that? How long had we been married at that point in
time? It was we were probably 2 or 3 years. I have to think, because I know what apartment we were in. We were in Costa Mesa. So it had to be.
And it was before the trail. So it was probably 2 years in.
98, 99 is my best guess.
We got married in 96.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it could have been.
We moved there in 90, Costa Mesa. Anyway.
Yep.
Doesn't matter. Very early in our marriage. And so got to go to Mardi Gras, get drunk, join in with all of the revelry. The alcohol is not an excuse. The fact that it was Mardi Gras is not an excuse. I chose to get caught up in all that was going on, and I kissed another man while I was at Mardi Gras. Came home, felt so good, like immediately confessed. Like maybe not like the day I came home, but it was very tight in there, and so we had to walk through just that physical infidelity. And then it's well documented here on the show. There was a season where the financial infidelity, secrets around money and secret spending and spending way beyond means at Christmas. So we've had these things where, and I'm even just thinking another emotional infidelity where I was working at, right after the Mardi Gras thing, you can tell the low points in our marriage. After Mardi Gras, I was working for a company in Orange County, and all male sales force, and I would spend all of my waking hours, because we had the ridiculous commute and all of that kind of thing, working and spending time with my male coworkers. These were the guys that saw me awake all day, every day, and then I'd come home and be exhausted for Tony. And we'd go to lunch together, and we'd, walk and run errands together, like all of this kind of stuff. And I know, like in hindsight, I can tell you 100% there was emotional infidelity there in terms of just giving my best to someone that was not my husband. Right. And so you get into these places and you start going, okay, hold on. Like the gift of hindsight is sometimes how we get to the opportunity to do these episodes. Because if you had told me as a 27-year-old what I was doing and the ramifications and the ripple effect across all these pillars of intimacy, I didn't know it then. But I can tell you, coming up on 29 years of marriage, like I look at these different pillars of intimacy, and I can tell you 100% in each one of these instances, our emotional intimacy got shattered. It was difficult to be vulnerable. It was difficult to have conversations. It was difficult to trust what was being said on both sides. Right? We struggled with emotional, we struggled with physical intimacy. Like I know I broke Tony's trust when I came home and told him, yeah, I kissed another guy that wasn't you. I mean, obviously that wasn't him if it's another guy. Like there's a recovery process after that. The financial intimacy, I mean, good grief. It was, full transparency on finance, like all of the breaches of trust and where you spend it and how you spend it and things like that. Like these pillars. And I wish, so if those of you that are newlyweds, those of you that are listening to this show and you're like dating and engaged and you're like just hearing about the pillars, oh my gosh, I'm so excited for your marriage. Because I would have loved to have been a 20-something and known some of this. Those of you that have been married for a while and you're like, we've had these problems, grab on to the pillars as a framework, right? Because I will tell you, spiritual intimacy gets tested, right? You get rocked as you're like, okay, God, where are you in the midst of this? How do we pray? Is it possible? I will tell you, when Tony revealed to me, specifically as we were writing our very first book, as we were writing Stripped Down, and this has been well talked about throughout the show over the years. We were writing Stripped Down. We have a business meeting with our coach. We get off. He tells me, yeah, when I used to travel for business, I would try and pick up women. I will tell you.
I remember that. I was in the old kitchen and you were livid.
That would be a mild understatement. But yes, we'll go with livid.
I remember that. So
I was like, we're frauds. We're frauds. We're writing a book on marriage and you're revealing this to me.
Yeah.
And I remember then, I look at the clock and of course it's time to go pick up the little one from preschool. I mean, that's how many years ago this was. And I remember, you talk about your spiritual intimacy being tested. I remember pulling out of our driveway, pulling into a cul-de-sac and being like, God, the only way this is going to shift is if your hand is on this marriage. Mm-hmm. Sexual intimacy gets rocked because it's just like, can we do this again? Do I want to do this after you've been with somebody else? Can we heal this part of our marriage? And there's a whole journey. Like, I know we're talking about this. This is a, 25, 30-minute show. We're not going to be able to cover all of this in depth. But there are traumatic symptoms that the one who's been betrayed is going to go through. So I want to tell you, if you've been the one to inflict betrayal in the marriage, if you've been the unfaithful one, this is not an easy ride for your spouse. They will suffer things like intrusive thoughts and hypervigilance and feeling flooded and have insomnia and like maybe even lose their appetite. But what I need you to know, and we saw this earlier this year, is that while infidelity causes tremendous pain, and I saw this with a couple we saw when we were in Texas earlier this year, they'd gone through infidelity, caused tremendous pain. At one point in time, before coaching and taking an active role in their marriage, they likely thought it was the end. They showed up 5 years later, came up to Tony and said, you would not believe where our marriage is today. After infidelity, being able to survive infidelity together. And we want to talk just about some of what they went through, but globally, like some of the things that can be done if this has been part of your story. And we're going to talk about that after this break.
You know what makes every outfit look better? The right bra from Third Love. Their bras make it easy to get ultimate cleavage, a smooth look, or even stop your shirt buttons from pulling. They make over 60 sizes, including half cups you won't find anywhere else. So you'll find your perfect fit. Third Love solves bra problems, or what they call brablems. Real women test every style they make. Comfort and support are guaranteed. So stop settling for bad bras. You deserve better. Get your problem solved today. Save $15 on your first order with code PODCAST15 at thirdlove.com.
Can I be real with you for a second? I've been using Go Pure's Tighten and Lift Neck Cream for a few weeks, and I'm amazed at how much my neck skin has improved. The texture is so much smoother. We spend so much time caring for our face, but what about our neck? With summer here, our necks are more exposed than ever in sundresses and swimsuits. But neck skin is thinner and more delicate than your face, which means it needs extra love, especially in the sun and heat. I love Go Pure's Tighten and Lift Neck Cream. It's powered by clinically proven ingredients designed to visibly firm and smooth that delicate neck skin in 4 to 8 weeks. The products are cruelty-free, paraben-free, and sulfate-free, so you're giving your skin clean, effective care without harsh chemicals. With over 1 million jars sold, the beauty secret is no longer a secret. For a limited time, our listeners get 25% off Go Pure with code MARRIAGE at checkout. Just head to gopurebeauty.com, use code MARRIAGE, and you're all set. And after you buy, do us a favor. When they ask where you heard about Go Pure, tell them it was from our show. We're back, and we're discussing how couples can rebuild trust and create an extraordinary marriage after infidelity. And I just want to start by saying we know there's pain. Mm-hmm. And we know it's not easy. And we know that in some cases, the marriage will not survive. Like I just, as a marriage coach, I have to actually be very honest with you about that. We want you both to give your all to see if it's possible. Because I've got too many miracle stories in my life when both husband and wife get involved in the healing process to say that it doesn't have to be the end. Right? It's not an automatic close that chapter right off into the sunset.
We have friends.
Absolutely. A number of friends that have been through this. And it's a process. It's a process. Anytime somebody tells me, like, I don't take it lightly when somebody tells me they've had an affair, but I do know that those beginning stages start with what's the complete disclosure and accountability. Not blaming, there's a tendency to trickle out the truth. There's human nature is like, well, this was happening. And so I did that. No, you chose. right? Like there can be a lot of contributing factors, but at the end of the day, I chose to be unfaithful with finances. I don't care that I was drinking when I was in Mardi Gras. I still chose to kiss another man. It's not that we were, struggling in our sex life and Tony, fell into pornography. He still chose every single time to do, like, it's a choice.
And typically, what we have seen over the years, and many of you have too, maybe you've been there or maybe you've talked to people. Somebody doesn't just roll out of bed one day.
I've said that so many times.
And have sex with somebody else. It truly isn't what we hear ever. I've never heard it. I've never heard somebody just go like, yeah, I think I'm going to just go screw up my marriage today and go have sex with somebody. It's typically little touches, little connections, a break, a crack in the sexual intimacy pillar, the emotional intimacy pillar, the financial intimacy pillar. There's something happening in the marriage that leads one or both or the other to seek out somebody else.
Well, and there's actually an Australian psychologist, I think Schilling's the last name, that termed all of those little moments, all of those little decisions as micro-infidelities, micro-cheating. And I saw that phrase and I was like,
that's a great phrase.
I love, because it is the little things. It's the extra text. It's the, well, nobody will know if I do this. It's the, well, just this one time, right? And if you think of those as micro infidelities, you get enough micro of anything, you're going to get a macro problem. Mm-hmm. Like straight up, just going to tell you.
That's really good.
And so coming to this place of saying, okay, you know what? Like I am going to be in a place of disclosure and accountability. I'm going to take responsibility without excuses. And this is a big one. Like when Tony found out after Christmas all those years ago about how I'd overspent, yeah, I had my reasons. I had a lot of pain that I was trying to mask with spending and that type of thing. But that excuse couldn't stand. At the end of the day, I had to be able to say the words, I chose to overspend. Period. End of story. And to be in that place, right? You have to take responsibility without excuses. You have to choose to rebuild all 6 pillars. Not just pick and choose, but look at each one of them. I mean, one of the exercises that I do with each one of my coaching clients is what would the 6 pillars of intimacy look like if they were strong? And get people to visualize that. And then you start going after the actions that were part of that visualization exercise. So you look at all 6 pillars. And some of you are going to need to get professional help. And I actually think in most cases, because of the swell of emotions that both husband and wife, regardless of which side of the hurt you were on, if you were the one who did the hurt or if you were the one who received the hurt, you very likely need professional help to process your emotions and come out stronger and healthier on the other side.
And this is an area where I see for men, we have too much pride and we have too much ego. And so we don't know if anybody can really help us, or typically we just don't want to share anything because it's like, I can handle this and I'll figure it out. Not saying women can't do that as well. I'm just saying I'm usually talking to men. And so one of the things I will say to you guys, if you are and have been dealing with infidelity or have in the past and haven't done anything with it, go get help. There's men's groups, most likely at your church, maybe somewhere in your community. There are pastors. There are professionals like Elisa. If you want to apply for coaching, go to oneextraordinarymarriage.com/coaching. There are counselors. There are therapists. There are those that are online. There are those that are in your community or the community next to you. What I see a lot of times, especially, and I'm just talking to men here, I'm just talking to my husbands here, is our pride and our ego will be the fall. Because we're not willing to address what we have done. And I can sit here now and I can say that because I've gone through enough and I've done enough work on myself and working with others to deal with it. Like the talking of pornography and what had happened, yeah, was it hurtful? Was it painful? Absolutely. And yet Elisa and I have addressed it. I have addressed it with her. it doesn't hold any power over me anymore. So the main thing is that I've talked to people about it and I've shared. And so that's what I would say to my men, to my husbands: drop the ego, drop the pride, and go get help. Is it worth it? And I would say 99.9% of the time, it is. There's probably a 0.01% where something else is out of your control that you need to address within the marriage. That's a greater thing, but that's a very small percentage.
Well, and I just want to say, as you're thinking through each one of these areas, surviving infidelity together is going to test your patience. It will require you to have levels of patience that you didn't know that you had. Because if you're the one who's been betrayed, you're walking this healing journey, and you're starting at a place where your spouse has already known what's going on. So it's like literally like being behind the 8 ball. And so there is that healing journey. If you're the one who has been unfaithful, your timeline is slightly skewed because you've known this was going on. And so when it gets disclosed or when it comes to the surface or whatever that looks like, you're like, okay, it's out. Let's deal with it. Move on. And what's so hard and can be challenging for couples is that those timelines sometimes don't match up. And that's where the gift of patience comes in. And I actually did some research just in preparation for this, just saying, okay, well, what's the average time, specifically if we're dealing with like an emotional or sexual infidelity, that breach of trust. And just some of the statistics I saw said that healing typically takes 18 months to 2 years for significant progress and up to 5 years for complete recovery. And I want to just land on that as we're closing, is that it's not okay, we're good. Everybody put a smile on it. Gold sticker on the day. We've overcome this together. It's nah, this is a journey. And you heard Tony talk, like it's a journey we're still on. Why? Because social media pops up and things show up and you have a conversation, that type of thing. It's radical patience and radical intentionality to survive infidelity together, to get back to this place where we're not just surviving. We are surviving together and creating an extraordinary marriage after our world's been rocked.
Yeah, and I'm going to end with this one thing around forgiveness, because we wrote an article and posted it up in the One Family Facebook group, and it was about how to forgive in marriage when you don't feel like it. And someone in the One Family who we know, she posted this, and I just want to share it because it was so impactful to me. And as Elisa was speaking about forgiveness, it just popped in my head, and it said, forgiveness is one side of the repair coin that is the responsibility of the wounded party. The other side of that coin is amends, which is the responsibility of the wounding party. I see a lot more emphasis put on the wounded party to forgive than I see directed toward the wounding party to make corrective and restorative amends. Alignment of both forgiveness and amends is a powerful key in restoring or perhaps initiating true connection.
Wow.
And it just made me realize, like, hey, wounding party, the person who had infidelity, decided to go there, you got to understand, like, this is strong. Like, you can't just blow this over and put it under the rug. And I commend this person for putting this out there, because it was so impactful to me that, like, I think about what I had to do to make amends, and not just sit back and rely on Elisa to forgive me and just be like, oh, it's okay. I had to do my part too. So that way we could rebuild and have the extraordinary marriage we desire. I didn't just lay it on her lap and go, well, now it's time for you to deal with it. I had to take responsibility for my actions, and Elisa had to take responsibility for her actions when there was some form of break, infidelity in the marriage. And so, tough topic, big topic. If you're facing this right now in your own marriage, you're not alone, but don't sit there in your own little place thinking you're the only one going through this. Get help, reach out, let others know. Because I will tell you, more than not, there's probably somebody that you can go talk to that has gone through it and has seen the other side. Maybe you don't feel comfortable saying it to somebody in your community. Go get help. Do not allow this to just fester and sit and do nothing about it, because the festering will most likely lead to more cracks in your pillars of intimacy, which eventually will just crumble all of the pillars of intimacy, which will then lead to most likely separation, divorce. And you know what? There can be a great testimony if you're willing to get over the ego, get over the pride, and step in and break the past, forgive, amend, and create your extraordinary marriage. Know that we are praying for you, because we know this isn't something that's easy by any stretch of the imagination. I'd rather talk about sexual intimacy and new positions. And yet, something like this can break a family, it hurts a community, and more importantly, it leaves you feeling empty. And so, step in this week. If this is something you've gone through or going through, you don't need to stay in this place any longer. Know that we're here for you. Take care. Have yourselves a wonderful week. We love you guys. Thank you for listening to the One Extraordinary Marriage Show. If you love this podcast, please leave a review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you are listening. Your review helps others find the show and know that it's the right fit for them and their marriage.